Hi there. My name is Jason Kirk. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm here with my wife, Emily. We were invited by Reverend Ann and Miles, who've shown an incredible amount of hospitality to us this weekend, including an event last night that was just fun and wonderful. So thank all of you for having us, and thank you for being here. And thank you for letting me stand here. Just to intro myself, I grew up very hardcore evangelical in Atlanta, and swore about 20 years ago I'd never be in church ever again. So to be up here is pretty surreal, if I'm being honest. But yeah, here we are in church. So I am, just to intro myself, I'm a sports journalist by trade. I co-host a Biblical Fun Facts podcast with my wife, Emily. And I wrote a novel that we talked about here last night. It's called Hell is a World Without You. It's about 9/11 era adolescents leading each other out of American white evangelicalism. It's inspired by the experiences of me and many millions of other people like me over the past not just 100, but 1,000+ years across various denominations, people who were born into high control religion, Christian nationalism, purity culture, fire and brimstone, and bigoted politics. And it's a really great time. So it's still Easter season, though I'd argue it's always Easter season. So even though I'm a few weeks behind the Harrowing of Hell, I wanted to circle back to that story. That's what Jesus did at the time, after all, left earth and circled back. The first letter of Peter, chapter 4, verse 6, says this: "The gospel was proclaimed even to the dead, so that though they had been judged in the flesh as everyone is judged, they might live in the spirit." And that's a large part of where we get the story of Jesus descending into hell. And forgive me for any of this that everyone already knows. In surrounding verses, the author of this letter was telling first century Christians to be on their best behavior because persecution was coming. The author was right. The empire didn't know how else to treat people who shared everything with each other and followed a power that they claimed outranked Caesar. Many biblical scholars have concluded this verse in 1 Peter refers to a mystery that the New Testament often wrestles with. Wasn't Jesus supposed to have returned here to earth before whole generations worth of Christians started dying? So the author of 1 Peter, writing at least 30 years after Jesus' exit, might have been trying to solve that mystery by saying God will judge the living and the dead, meaning the people who followed the gospel while alive here on earth won't be abandoned just because they've died. But as always, when it comes to matters of the spirit, if you try to solve one mystery, you raise another. Several Christian traditions have concluded this verse in 1 Peter and some other parts of the New Testament literally refer to the crucified Jesus entering a realm of people who died before his crucifixion so that he could give them a message. Following that thread, lots of Christian stories develop that verse into Jesus invading hell and busting Adam and Eve out of a literal jail, and that's how Jesus acquires some sort of a victory over death before resurrecting here on earth. To me, the main utility of that story has always been it's a way for Christian parents to answer the questions of their Sunday schoolers. Influential theologians were debating the harrowing of hell 1,800 years ago, but I think that's the same impulse that leads to a kid asking, "Mom, if Abraham and Noah lived before Jesus, then are they in hell right now?" And then mom says, "No, of course not. Jesus went down there and let them out." See, there's this verse in 1 Peter that says something about preaching to the dead. Try not to think about it. Go play dodgeball. And I think so much of theology is about that, just getting Sunday schoolers to stop asking questions that make us wonder whether we need to recheck the math or not. In the tradition I was raised in, we didn't talk very often about what Jesus might have been up to during Easter weekend. But whenever we did, we focused less on liberating Adam and Eve and more on the Catholic mystic vision of Jesus descending to beat up Satan like a video game's final boss. Mel Gibson's making a Passion of the Christ sequel right now, and I assume it'll basically just be Jesus blasting demons, gun-toting John Wick style. So, like Mel Gibson, we were into muscular Christianity and militarism and not so much the turning the other cheek stuff. So, Jesus physically outdueling Satan was reflected in tons of our pop culture. As one of my wise beyond his years younger friends once put it, salvation is when life beats death, right? The young man said. So we try to picture that. We listen to songs about slaughtering Satan. Christian novels say this building's full of angels stabbing demons right now. In video games, we created Jesus so he could beat up the devil. I've murdered the devil a zillion times. Satan gets punished in Dante's Inferno, plus stuff by this guy named John Milton, the young man said, boldly implying he'd read beyond the Cliff's Notes. There's a story about Jesus invading hell, conquering Satan. With weapons? Really? Jesus said to love enemies. Isn't that love more powerful the more hateable the enemy? What if, when preachers told us we're equal to Satan, they were right, but not in the way they thought? I really wonder, said the young man, if maybe nobody's beyond hope, literally nobody, alive, dead, or worse. Satan doesn't want to follow Jesus, but the Bible says everybody will. That includes the little soul escaping Satan's damned body, right? Because if even Satan goes home, all people do, right? I no longer believe in, end quote, I no longer believe in any kind of eternal hell, though I do believe the universe hopes for justice. And I don't know how the story of existence could have a fitting conclusion unless we're all reconciled to each other. And reconciliation demands reparations and purification. So if, after death, we face a cleansing light that feels like fire until we're all restored together, then, okay, I'd like to believe in that hell, even though it hurt for a while. I was taught to believe Jesus' suffering had value in and of itself. I can't ever again believe that an empire executing a peaceful rebel was good, but I do believe his suffering mattered because it was suffering in solidarity. Whether God has only ever incarnated in only one person or not, God could have chosen to incarnate as anyone at any time, in any planet, in any universe. The Gospels tell us God chose to walk among us as the son of a poor woman oppressed by an empire and to die because Caesar is not actually Lord. In Jesus' final moments on the cross, he even empathized with the Roman soldiers who'd been indoctrinated into punishing an innocent man by wielding the empire's ultimate weapon, control over who lives and who dies. So here's what I find in the story of Jesus descending into hell. Solidarity beyond solidarity. The first becoming last, and then something even lower than the last. The ultimate proof that empires can break bodies but cannot extinguish the breath of the Spirit. The ultimate confirmation that, as Psalm 139 tells us, if I ride the wings of the dawn and land in the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me tight. If I say, surely the darkness will cover me, and night wraps itself around me, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. Where can I go from your spirit, or where could I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, you are there. That's all I have.